Reynold Mackenzie, a determined and seasoned colonel in the Union Army during the Civil War, found himself facing humiliation on the western frontier. Despite his extensive military successes, he was now being outmaneuvered by an enemy he deemed inferior. For decades, Texans and Mexicans on the frontier had been tormented by the Comanche, a formidable Native American tribe known for their depredations. However, Mackenzie's recent expedition to track and capture an entire village of the Quahadi band had ended in failure. The Comanche had evaded him on the high plains of the Llano Estacado, aided by a fierce northern storm that almost froze Mackenzie's men to death. On the return march from his failed mission, Mackenzie and his soldiers cornered two Comanche stragglers, hiding among brush and boulders. Furious and reckless, Mackenzie led from the front, intent on capturing or killing the warrior. His mind was consumed by the setbacks of the past days: stolen horses, injured and killed men, and the devastating loss of a village that could have ended the conflict decisively. As he issued orders, an arrow struck his thigh. Despite his injury, Mackenzie's men eliminated the Comanche warriors, exemplifying the brutal choices Native Americans faced: surrender or die. Mackenzie was pulled from the field, wounded and embarrassed. The arrow in his leg was yet another reminder of his struggles, but it only fueled his obsession to conquer the Comanche. The Quahadi were not just any band of Comanche. They were the last free and fiercely independent group, known for their brutal raids and resistance against white settlers. Their leader, Quanah Parker, embodied their indomitable spirit. Born to a Comanche father and a white mother, Cynthia Ann Parker, who had been assimilated into the tribe after being kidnapped as a child, Quanah's life was shaped by tragedy and resilience. When his mother was forcibly returned to white society and subsequently died in despair, Quanah's hatred for the invaders deepened, solidifying his role as a war chief determined to defend his people's way of life. The conflict between the Comanche and the United States reached a turning point in the years following the Medicine Lodge Treaty of 1867. This treaty was less a negotiation than an ultimatum. It demanded that the Comanche and other tribes cease warfare and settle on reservations, offering food, education, and farming supplies in return. Yet, the treaty's promises were frequently broken, leading to increased raids by Native Americans desperate to sustain themselves. The Quahadi, however, had refused to sign the treaty, choosing to remain free on the inhospitable high plains. The Comanche's dominance on the plains stemmed from their unmatched skill as mounted warriors. George Catlin, a painter and chronicler of Native American life, described them as the most extraordinary horsemen he had ever seen. Their ability to fight entirely on horseback, combined with their expertise in archery, gave them a significant advantage over both other tribes and white settlers. Even seasoned military officers like Colonel Richard Dodge acknowledged their superiority as light cavalry. The Quahadi's mastery of their environment, including the trackless expanse of the Llano Estacado, made them nearly impossible to catch. However, the tide began to turn with advancements in military technology and changes in strategy. The introduction of Colt revolvers and later lever-action rifles, which allowed for faster firing rates, eroded the Comanche's tactical advantage. More devastatingly, the mass slaughter of buffalo by white hunters in the early 1870s crippled the Comanche's ability to sustain themselves. The buffalo, central to their diet and culture, were being exterminated at an unprecedented rate. By the mid-1870s, the vast herds that once roamed the plains were nearly gone, leaving the Comanche on the brink of starvation. In 1871, Mackenzie launched his first major campaign against the Quahadi in Blanco Canyon. The operation was a disaster. The Comanche ambushed his men, stampeded their horses, and evaded capture, despite Mackenzie's relentless pursuit. The experience taught Mackenzie valuable lessons about the challenges of fighting the Comanche on their own turf. Determined to adapt, he shifted to a scorched earth strategy, targeting the Comanche's villages, supplies, and horses. He understood that an enemy without mobility or resources was a defeated enemy. Mackenzie's relentless campaigns culminated in the Battle of Palo Duro Canyon in September 1874. In a meticulously planned assault, his forces surprised a large Comanche village, destroying their supplies and capturing over 400 horses. Rather than allow the Comanche to reclaim the horses, Mackenzie ordered them slaughtered. This devastating blow left the Quahadi without the means to survive the approaching winter, forcing them to surrender. By June 1875, Quanah and the remaining Quahadi entered Fort Sill, marking the end of the Comanche's reign on the plains. Remarkably, Mackenzie's relationship with Quanah evolved into one of mutual respect. Mackenzie even attempted to locate Quanah's mother, Cynthia Ann, as an act of goodwill, though she had tragically passed away years earlier. Quanah adapted to reservation life, becoming a successful rancher and advocate for his people. He bridged the gap between two worlds, earning the admiration of figures like President Theodore Roosevelt. Quanah's life on the reservation was marked by his efforts to integrate his people into the changing world, while preserving their cultural identity. He worked tirelessly to improve living conditions on the reservation, lobbying for better rations and medical care. His ranching enterprise became a model of success, and his ability to navigate both Comanche traditions and white society earned him widespread respect. As a representative of his people, Quanah met with prominent figures, attended social events, and even accompanied President Roosevelt on hunting trips. His leadership symbolized resilience and adaptation, proving that the spirit of the Comanche could endure even in the face of overwhelming change. Mackenzie's relentless pursuit of the Comanche ultimately took a toll on his health. Plagued by injuries and mental strain, he retired in 1884 and died in 1889. Yet his campaigns against the Comanche remain a testament to his determination and the brutal realities of westward expansion. The story of Mackenzie and the Comanche is one of resilience, adaptation, and the inexorable clash of cultures, with lessons that continue to resonate in the history of the American frontier. The legacy of the Comanche endures in their profound impact on the history of the American West. From their unparalleled skill as horsemen to their unyielding resistance against colonization, the Comanche's story is one of resilience, ingenuity, and cultural pride. The High Plains, once their vast and untamed domain, now bear the scars of their struggle and the echoes of their heritage. The narratives of Quanah Parker and Reynold Mackenzie exemplify the complex interplay of conflict and cooperation that shaped the trajectory of the frontier. In remembering their stories, we gain a deeper understanding of the enduring human spirit in the face of change and adversity.